I'm going to show you how I'm using Notion to plan my 2024 goals. I've also built different sections to track my progress towards my goals and also manage the different tasks that I have on a daily basis. So let's have a look. Let's start with our dashboard tour right here. So the main idea is to have the ability for me to zoom in and zoom out whenever I need to check on any of my goals and progress. So this dashboard does exactly that, and it goes deeper into different layers when I need to, and I can be able to zoom in. Now, starting from the top left here, we have the quick links section. So as you can see, even from here, there are 4 main subsections here. They are basically databases that builds up this entire Notion template that you see right now. So we have the big goals, and then it breaks down into monthly planning, monthly goals, and then finally tasks and events. If you notice, what I've done here is I've created a structure or a hierarchy where from the top, it's all the bigger, more ambitious goals. And then it goes granular in the middle, which is on a monthly basis. And then finally, on the daily basis, I'm going to see what kind of task I need to do in order to hit my monthly goals and therefore hitting my yearly goals. I'm going to show you how that works in just a second. So clicking on any of these listed items here would bring us into specific databases. So for example, if I click tasks and events, it's going to zoom right in. And then I just click this button right here and go back out. So the same goes with the rest of the links here. What kind of process do I use to define my goals? First, I'd start by declaring the big yearly targets I want to hit. So this is where the yearly goals for 2024 sit. And you can see in this section alone, there's 2 sets of views. In Notion, we call these things views. One is a list view, which is literally a list. And then the other one is a gallery view. So when you switch to this view, you can have a more visual kind of like layout with, squares and dividers. I couldn't decide between the two, so it's purely aesthetic. I might just switch to this view for this demonstration right here. It's just cleaner. Okay, so I've listed a few goals right here. These are the goals for the year, and they're not just text-based. They are actually items in a database. So those of you who are not familiar with Notion, when you have items in a database, when you click on this item right here, it gives you more flexibility to go into more details. You can add more things called properties, which are these fields right here. And you can then define different things here, where there are numbers, different texts, different tags, and so on and so forth. I like to group my goals into different categories, and I give them a color code so I can tag them accordingly. And this gives me an idea of how much effort am I putting into one area versus the other. So if I feel like I should be putting more areas into finance, for example, I can review that and realize, okay, I need to adjust my plan and put more effort there. So this just gives me a very quick view of the amount of effort I'm putting across different areas, right? So to demonstrate how this works, I'm just going to add a new goal right here. And you can do that by clicking this new button or this one down here. And then it is going to open a sneak peek preview here. And in Notion, they have this switch to peek mode. So we have a side peek, which is what we're seeing right now. We have a center peek, which is this one. And then you can go full page if you want to. So whenever you click an item in this database, it will switch between those modes depending on your settings. I like the side peek, so let's keep it there. So if I were to add a new goal, I would add the title here. Let's say I want to be, I don't know, run 10 km marathon. So the next thing I would do is, as I mentioned before, put in the category of this goal. And when I click here, there's a drop down where I can choose fitness. It's already color coded yellow. And then I would also put an icon to associate that easily. Usually you can put an emoji here, but Notion has recently added icons as a different type of visualization tool, which I really like. It's quite a clean aesthetic look. It's flat icons, and you can even change the colors accordingly, right? So I like to match the color of the icon to the color of the tag of the category of the goal, just for making it easier to look at and easy to read. So I'm going to look for maybe fitness, or maybe there's a weight. It's not really accurate. Let me just put here a running icon, and you can even add a cover. So we can change this cover. You can even go to Unsplash and look for an image. Let's say run. It's a nice one right here. I'm going to select this one. And this cover image is going to appear as a reference when we switch to our gallery view right here. So I'm just taking the image that's in the cover photo. So going back to this list view, we're not done yet. So ideally, goals should be measurable and time-bound. Because it's a yearly goal, it's already time-bound to 12 months. That's cool. Now, in order to track that goal, I need to give some targets to it. So let's say I want to put a target here. Just put 10 km. And it only takes in numbers, so it doesn't take the km. And then there's a progress bar here. Maybe this goal is not really like the ideal thing, but we're just doing this for demonstration purposes, right? So let's say so far I have no progress here, and I put 0. I have a formula here to create this progress bar. I can key in the progress here, and let's say I put 1. As you can see, it increased to 10%. So it's a nice visual indicator of how much progress I've done. And once the bar is full, obviously you've achieved that goal for the year. So that's just how it's set up. So that's how I would add a goal in this yearly goals section of my Notion dashboard. And you can see there are other goals right here, and they all have progress bars, they're all standardized, and they're all measurable. So unfortunately for now, as I demonstrated before, it's a manual input to update the progress. In the future, I might explore other options to make this more dynamic and automated. Once I have my yearly goals defined, I will break them into smaller chunks. There are many ways to do this, but I prefer to break it down by month. So I have monthly goals that contribute to the yearly goals. This makes it easier for me to not only track, but also hit my goals and feel less intimidating to achieve that big goal of the end of the year. As the name suggests, we have a monthly planning and goals section right here. The ideal process that I've adopted is actually incorporating the monthly goals definitions when I'm doing my monthly planning. So I'm going to show you this in just a moment. To create a monthly plan, I'll just click this button right here. And it's going to auto-populate, based on the template I've defined, different sections, tables, and even a calendar and a to-do list, right? Which is going to be very helpful because then I don't have to think about, oh, every month, this is the thing I need to do. This is the different sections and tables I have. It's all already quote-unquote programmed into Notion template I have defined. So in one click, it just saves me so much time. All I need to do is define, obviously, the name of the month. Let's pretend this is February. And I put a year there. And then it's also taking a date field. So this is important for our filtering purposes. And I'm going to put this to February. And the reason why I have that is in this entire list, there could be years and years of monthly planning all in one database. And what I've done here is to filter them by just between December and then January of next year. I like to have a little bit of a gap between the years. So December of last year is a helpful gap to reflect and then plan for January of this year, right? So this way, I only will see the relevant monthly plans for the year. So going back here, I'm going to show you how I fill up the rest of the information in my monthly plan. To speed things up, I'll go through the January plan because I already have written stuff here. So I can actually zoom in and open this in full page, which just makes it easier for us to work with. Within each of this monthly plan, I start with a reflection of the last month. So these are collapsible fields here. They're called toggled lists. So you can toggle on and off. And when they're collapsed, then you have more room to quickly jump to the other section. So it's making things more tidy and clean, right? So I will reflect on the last month. And you can notice right here, I have broken down even more toggleable lists based on my goals. And they're categorized similarly to those goals. So I have my finance goals. They're also color-coded to be similar, green color. I have my content goals. I have my product goals. And I have a special section for miscellaneous if I don't know where to put some thoughts into what happened last month. I've written a bunch of stuff here. Let's say the content one, for example. I've done some research into Notion. I like what I'm seeing here. So that's what went well. There's also other communities on Reddit. They are quite passionate about Notion and productivity. What didn't go well is I was trying a different niche and different topic, which is storytelling. And I can't seem to publish weekly videos. As a logistical process issue. I need to improve on that. And then, I neglected Twitter for a while. So that's just an example. The ideal flow here is after you write what went well, what didn't go well in a particular area from last month, you immediately can go into the state of flow and brainstorm some ideas and action items related to content, for example. So I've written a bunch of stuff here. Don't worry about whether or not you have all the steps defined in terms of your task and action items. That's something that we will do at the bottom of the list here later on. So right now it's just, getting your thoughts out there and organizing it based on this category, right? I've written here, I need to pivot my niche or topic to focus more on Notion and productivity because that seems to be more interesting for me. And based on my research, it seems that it will have more traction, right? I also written other things here. And from here, I can then go through each one and do the same thing and write all the action items and ideas I have to improve in the next coming month, right? So that will improve my plan. And then from here, once you've written everything about your action items and ideas, it flows back to your monthly goals. So if last month, imagine that, I know it's not the right indicator here. Should be December instead of January, but that's okay. Imagine this is last month. Cool. We had 100% progress here, 100% progress here for this goal. But for this goal, we only had 50% progress. So this is a way for us to quickly also understand, okay, maybe we need to fine tune our goals, fine tune our ideas here. And let's say I come up with a new goal as well to compensate for this. I might have some ideas here that requires me to set up a new goal. I can do that here by clicking this button and just filling up whatever new goal I have here. Tag the month. And this is important because later on we can filter out which goals belong to which month in a future database or a future dashboard I might make for a different purpose, right? And then similarly, I will also tag the category of that goal. Fill in the target as well. If we have a target of whatever quantity or unit that you want to put here, put 10 and then put progress at 0 because we're just starting out, right? And then the progress bar will be updated as well to reflect your progress of that goal. So once you have that set up, you can put as many goals as you want, but of course, be realistic about how many different goals you want to tackle within a time span of 1 month. There's not much time there. It's not too short. It's not too long. And this is why I always want to reflect every month to make sure that I keep optimizing my goal setting and maybe some systems or processes that I have in place. And after we've done our reflection, we've brainstormed some ideas and new action items. We've adjusted or added new goals to our monthly goals. We can now break them down even smaller to weekly and daily tasks that we need to do in order to hit our monthly goals. So what I have here are two separate things that are actually based on the same information or database. This is the to-do list section, as you can call it, your task management section. There are many ways to approach managing and defining your task, but my preference is to look at the calendar view in Notion because from here, I have already a bunch of stuff here and they all have different colors and emojis and they have statuses there. Imagine if I want to add a new task and I know when I'm going to do it. Let's say I'm going to do it here today. I can just click the plus button. It's going to pop up this view right here and I can decide, okay, what kind of task is it? I have templates here defined because I know there are some recurring tasks that I always do and they roughly have the similar steps that I need to take. So I know what they look like. So having it in template form allows me to just click one button and it's auto-populated. Let's say I want to put, let's say bank statements here. It's already got its category. It knows when is the date because from the calendar view just now, I clicked the plus button, right? So that's easy. And the status is not done yet, obviously. So we've added one task here on that date in the calendar view. Now let's say I don't want to do it on this date or I can't do it. I need to readjust my schedule. I can just click here and drag it to whichever date that suits me. And, I can also look at this other task and adjust it there. Or like maybe I should just put it to the entire next week, right? I love this view because it's very easy to just click and drag different tasks around. And if you really know you want to do something for that particular day or that particular week, you can just quickly add it right there. Let's say you've done that particular action item. I can just click right here on the calendar that it's done. So that's pretty powerful as well. Or you can go inside and modify it. Now, sometimes you have a task, but you don't know when you're going to do it yet. But it is something that you thought about maybe during a train ride or you're outside and you're on your phone, you're going to quickly jot it down, right? So I have a section right here on the left, which is very similar. It has the same information. It is based on the same database of this calendar view right here. All the tasks will also appear on this list. However, I've created some filters to make it only show things that don't have dates. So there's a miscellaneous task here that I purposely put for this demonstration. There's also a bookkeeping task that I'm not sure when I'm going to do it yet, but I remember I have to do it. So I just write it down and it'll appear here. Let's say I have another thing I want to do. I want to do some research. I don't know when to do it. I can just click this button right here and it'll appear into the backlog. So later on, you might have a specific day in the week that you review your backlog, all these items that don't have assigned dates yet. You can then clean it up and say, you know what? That research thing that I'm going to do, I know when I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it on the 1st. And immediately once you assign date, as you can see, it disappears from the backlog and is now moved into your calendar. But also, there's a second list right here. When I click this button, it can switch to prioritize list. And it's also appeared already in your prioritize list. So what's cool here is this list is also going to show things that has happened in the past. So maybe I've forgotten to reschedule or check off some action items. I can immediately do that here. And then I can also change the dates if I need to make sure that they all appear from today onwards, not yesterday, not last 7 days. So it's a prioritized list. It's good to make sure that you're keeping up to date with the statuses of your action items and your tasks, or maybe rescheduling them when you're falling a bit behind so that you don't forget them. So these are grouped together based on different dates and different time frames, which is a really nice way to look at your calendar and your to-do list. So on mobile, this will show up first, and it's a lot easier to see because unfortunately, Notion does not show your calendar view like this on mobile. So you can't see like the different details here. You have to click on each day and then expand it to a different page. So I find that having a list is very helpful when you're on mobile as well. And this is a slight tweak that I also add in terms of my prioritized list. The moment I click something as done, it immediately disappears from the list. This is a preference I have. The difference here is that on a calendar, it's still there. So I put a different setting and configuration for the list versus the calendar because I want it to stay in the calendar so that when I do my review, I can quickly just see, okay, I've done these things in the previous month on that week or that day. Whereas a to-do list, I prefer to have something that's less congested. So I've made the decision to just remove or hide it the moment I click and check it off. But again, this is my preference. One other thing you might notice here is that this monthly calendar and this backlog to-do list is very similar to when we go back to the yearly planner and goal tracker dashboard here. The reason for that is I think I'll be spending most of my time here in this view, in this main dashboard, to remind myself of the bigger goals and then how it trickles down to the monthly goals and what I need to do. I just find that when I'm planning at the end of the month or the beginning of a month, I like to have a zoom out version of everything for that month. So therefore, I have a clone of the to-do list and calendar for ease of reference when I'm planning things out. So when I'm executing, I prefer this zoomed out view, and it has a very similar to-do list and calendar view. So if some people might think that's overkill or it's a duplicate, it's fine. If I don't feel like I need this anymore, I can just click here and delete. That's how flexible Notion is, right? So coming back to the top, in conclusion, the flow of how I define my goals for 2024 is I declare the big goals and I make sure that they have some form of measurement to them, and I track their progress that way. From there, I can break it down to smaller goals on a monthly basis. And then from those monthly goals, I break it down even further and identify each action item and task I need to do for the day and for the week. And then when we reach the end of the month, I would reflect on the previous month and continue the cycle of reviewing my monthly goals, reviewing what I need to do for the next month in terms of daily and weekly tasks. By the way, I'm giving away this Notion template for free, but only until the second week of January 2024. So go download this template and get a strong start to your year. Link in the description below. Now, if you prefer to build this entire Notion template yourself, I'm actually preparing a tutorial for this. So you should subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified when it's ready. If you're watching this in the future, then that video should be appearing right here.